goodbye, fall asleep to lullabies with something that I thought I'd never find. And what is right and what is wrong, and all I ever saw was love. But let's get lost in love tonight. Hear a second voice inside my head, it's telling me to stay the night again and hold on to the words we always said would be forever, forever. Wait another day to clear my thoughts, so jump into a love that won't be forgotten. Forever, forever, let's run away together. Let's run away together. Let's run away together. Wait another day to clear my thoughts, so jump into a love that won't be forgotten. Forever, forever, let's run away together.
Hey folks, how's everybody doing tonight? Happy Tuesday. Oh goodness, wow, it is Tuesday already. It's been a really crazy day, so that's glad we made it. Oh, and I forgot to open the song. Oh dear, I wasn't giving credit for their song. Let me open this tool up. This is fun. It scrapes Spotify and puts it in a little text file that OBS reads. There we go. And then it'll show up on the stream here. So I'm properly giving credit to our no copyright sound friends. Alright, so we've got a couple things on tap today. Let's take a peek here in D2L. Let's see. Alright, a couple other quizzes came in, a couple other assignments. I was trying to keep up to date on those, because otherwise I'm going to fall behind and it will suck. Last semester was horrible once I fell behind. So I'll do my best to keep up on those. The Syllabus Quiz, you can retake if you did not get full points. Those should be free points for you. Right, the idea is you read the syllabus, answer the questions correctly. If they were confusingly written, let me know. But should be easy points. But the Syllabus Quiz there, I think most people did all right with Project Zero. I didn't have too many issues. A couple folks weren't giving me the correct link, but a lot of people did it, so I wasn't taking a point off there. I did take points off if you used file upload instead of actually committing and pushing your changes, because we want to avoid the file upload option. Hey, Miad. Am I saying your name right, Miad? And Serum, good to see you. Glad to have you folks along. Alright. Cool. I didn't put that page out there either. Oh dear. Okay. And let me get my 2151 repository. Summer 2021. Here we go. Let me link this out here in D2L for you. This is where, again, where all the code is going to go. So let me add a link. This is the course repository. You can also find it if you do ! GitHub there in the chat. That'll be all the place, everywhere I do the code examples in class will go here, because code does not belong in D2L, right? So you can find the link here, you can get it on my profile, you can do ! GitHub there in the chat if you want some links, and you can find all the code repositories. All right. Someone's emailing me now at 6 o'clock. Yeah, hopefully you had a chance to connect with the learning partner. That was optional. I'm not going to require you to pair with somebody in this pandemic mode, but I strongly recommend you still find someone if you can. Buddy up with a partner. You folks can chat about class, ask each other questions. You are more than welcome to discuss the projects, but at the point at which you are taking notes, you've probably gone too far of copying off of them. So if you want to talk about, oh yeah, I might do this, or I'll have this approach, or I might have a class for this, and you're just chatting, perfectly fine. if you have to start taking detailed notes and you're copying down their attribute names and their class names and things like that, we've gone too far. Okay, so definitely encourage you to try and find a learning partner there. If you're having trouble, again, I think the forums are probably the place to go there. I definitely saw some activity, which is cool. And we'll see what we can do. And then don't forget, we have study group on Thursdays at 5 p.m. 5 to 6 p.m. are the study group sessions led by our amazing supplemental instructor, Tim. He's fantastic, a wealth of knowledge. And you teach some of these classes over at Macomb, don't you, Tim? I seem to recall. The scheduling here is just kind of crazy sometimes, but he is fantastic. Also, if you need any help with math, he's your man, and physics as well. So do check that out. And then if you can't make the study group session at 5 p.m. on Thursdays, never fear. Take a look at the syllabus for the link for our Academic Support Center, and there are other times you can schedule individual tutoring. Grab this here. That's down a couple pages. Where is it? Here. Let's see. There we go. Here's the Academic Support Center link for tutoring. And the Orchard Ridge campus is our main campus, although they're all remote tutoring, so you're welcome to look at the other campuses. I don't know if they actually offer anything useful. I don't think Auburn Hills has any CIS tutoring that would be useful. Yeah, those are all CAD classes. That's not CIS classes. So they must not have a CIS tutor this semester. So that's a bummer there. Oh, the fan. I'm sorry. Yeah, is that picking up too much noise again? Herp. But here at the Orchard Ridge campus, we have an amazing tutor. I might have had that on high instead of low. Oh, and Rika is back as well. Fantastic. So she is able to tutor for 2151 on Thursdays, noon to 4, and Mr. Tim, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 to 5. Anything CIS related. The man is fantastic. Hydration. Thank you so much, Reed Walloon. Cheers. All right. So you can take advantage of that. And I did finally get some office hours. Thank you, folks, for submitting the when to meet here. So the times that look like they're going to work best for people who follow the directions, and I said I'm busy between 5 and 10 p.m., Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm looking at doing from 3 to 4:30 Mondays and Wednesdays, and then also 10 to 11 on Mondays and Wednesdays to try and catch anybody after class who's up late. So those are the standing office hours. I need to go update that here. Let's see. Get that updated in the syllabus for you folks. And again, you're welcome to schedule a 15, 20, 30-minute appointment with me anytime in those standing hours so we can chat. Monday and Wednesday, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. or by appointment. All right, so then I'll update that for you folks here on our syllabus page. So if it doesn't work, I do meet by appointment. Oh, definitely, yeah, throw out that coffee emote there, Miad. I love it. I am out of coffee. I drank a bunch, but we had a terrible night. My daughter was in the ER till 6. Got super dehydrated, couldn't keep anything down. So some IV fluids, thankfully. Definitely perked her up after 2 days. But then the rest of the day was just shot from her not getting home till 7 in the morning almost. So I actually just woke up from my nap a little bit ago. That was fantastic. I definitely think napping is the way to go. I just may re-upload the syllabus here for you. So I'll have my office hours. If you can't make one of those times, I do meet other times by appointment. So email me, text me, Discord message me. Suggest a couple times that I could pick from that I might be able to make work, and I'll see what I can do. Right? But if you just say, hey, can we meet? I'll say, yes, when do you want to meet? And we've just wasted 2 emails back and forth or communications back and forth. Right? So let's be efficient here because we are all efficiently lazy developers. All right. Get that one. Let's take a peek. So today we are finishing up our review of stuff from 1500. We're going to come back to chapter 6 is all about Java classes. And we're also going to talk about unit testing because unless you had me you have no idea what unit testing is, and that's okay. We'll pick it up. It is a super useful skill to have, and you'll actually be using it for the project. All right, that's not loading, of course. I'll just open it from here. All right, why is my phone beeping? All right. They're building a new subdivision kind of halfway behind my house. And my wife is joking with the rest of the family if we should bring out our whistles. Okay, so you did some unit testing in C++? Fantastic. It's good to hear. Which C++ class was that, Mian? Was that the one here at OCC? Or was that a different place you took C++? Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a really useful skill to have. Okay. Oh, C++ over Umish. Very cool. I didn't know they covered that. That's super cool. Good to know. Good to know. All right, so classes and unit testing. This is all about Chapter 6, and we'll talk about the first, the real project. Project 0 is just like, can you get your tools up and running sort of thing, and the general, like, introduce yourself here. All right, and then we'll have a project every 2 weeks for the first 2/3 of class up through the midterm. And then on week 11, we'll pick up the final project for the rest of the semester. That's the goal. Hey, Nav Forever. Good to have you along. All right, any questions, thoughts, concerns before we get moving? I know we did a pretty quick review. It said it was 1 through 7, but we didn't actually spend any time on if statements or loops or anything like that. Mostly looking at arrays, array lists, and then a little bit with classes as well. All right. If you haven't gotten Project 0 in yet, I will take this one late because I need to make sure the tools work for you before we get to Project 1. If you put this one off and never do it, and then you're like, oh, I'll figure it out for Project 1, and Project 1 comes due, and you get Project 1 in late, on June 1st at 6 p.m., I'll be going over the solution to Project 1, and then I can no longer take it late. Okay, so it's super important you get these projects in on time because I go over the solutions in class. I think it tends to be relatively useful to see how I would approach a solution. I tend to get good feedback that is very useful to see how I would go solving one of these problems. Because everyone does it different, and that's one of the really fun things about programming is it really is an art and a science. Right? There's definitely a science, there's some efficiency, there's some tools and techniques that we learn, but then the art of taking a big problem and breaking it down into smaller and smaller and smaller chunks here to solve those small chunks is awesome, and that you'll get better at the more you do. Right? So we have lots of projects to be working on throughout the semester, and then our big final project. And again, these are worth a lot. Right? So as we go through, all the projects grouped together are 35% of your overall score. You'll have a rubric for all of them. The goal is you get them all done. Right? If you're having trouble with it, ask your study partner, ask in the supplemental instruction sessions, go to tutoring, ask me. Right? I'm not going to tell you to go away because you have a question about the project. The goal is everyone gets the projects done and gets 100%. Right? This is your chance to practice the things that we're doing. And then our final project comes up at the end. That's 40% of your overall score there. Okay? So that is big as well. Instead of a final exam, instead of something weighted really heavily, we'll try and have an actual product at the end that is interesting. We'll have something we can be proud of. So I think I mentioned last semester they built a little blackjack game that was mildly entertaining to play. Right? And it was something they could show off and say, hey, look, I actually did this thing. It was interesting to work with. Okay? So we'll take a look as we get closer to our final project. What we'll do a different game. I don't think we'll repeat blackjack. We'll probably do something else. Right? And then the quizzes will start this week. So we're going to have a quiz every chapter. So starting with chapter 6, we'll have a quiz, and you'll have 1 week to do it. It's open book, open notes. Start it, stop it anytime you want, as long as you get it in by the due date. That'd be fun. Roulette, and you can bet on roulette, but then it's just random numbers. There's not really a whole lot of functionality to add there for being a really interesting project. 1 attempt on the quizzes. So take your time. They are typically short answer style or true-false questions, but the catch is my true-false questions are if the answer is false, or I'm sorry, if the statement is false, you have to correct it to make it true. So it's essentially like a short answer style question. So we'll have 1 quiz per chapter. So chapter 6 quiz, chapter 8 quiz, chapter 9 quiz, chapter 10 quiz, chapter 11. Hey, Nav, thank you so much for subscribing. That is so cool. You are donating that portion of what Twitch will send me eventually to the Student Scholarship Fund at the University of Michigan Dearborn College of Engineering and Computer Science, where I lecture and am a student. And am a student. That sounds right. It's probably proper English. That's super cool. Thanks for that. All right. So that's the plan. Any other questions before we move on to Chapter 6 stuff? Let me fire up NetBeans. That'll take a minute here. Let me get that going while we wait. Yeah, I gotta try the fan again. Make sure it's on low mode here because it's getting hot in my office. Is it picking up the sound a lot on the mic there? I try to move it a little bit too. Any luck? I found out actually my Surface Book here has terrible cooling, and if it heats up too hot, it underclocks the CPU to prevent itself from damaging itself, which, that's all smart and well and good, but it's obnoxious when it slows. Okay, the feedback about the NVIDIA broadcast, I'll have to look into that. But I can just hook that up as my mic source then instead of just whatever mic I have here. But I do have a little bit of the gain filtering on here. Yeah, it's the RN noise filtering. So I don't know, but it doesn't seem to work very well. All right, we can take a look at that after. If it's not too terrible, I'll leave the fan on if you don't mind, because it's getting warm already. I've got the air on in the house too, and this is what happens when things get warm. All right, so let me close out some of these other projects. And I'm going to start up a new project here. The Gradle thing was not working. I fought with it. It sort of works, but for now, let's just go with Java with Ant, because I know that works and it has less trouble here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I put it in the GitHub directory, baking. So for me, my course examples are 2151, summer 2120. For all of your projects, it'll be project 1, project 2, like whatever dash your username for your folders. So you just go find wherever you cloned that repository here. And this will be chapter 6, examples. Oh, very cool. AP exams. Those are lots of fun, right? All right, and again, I gotta take out these comments here. I don't want any of those comments. All right, and again, when we work with classes, mostly what's in main is not the focus right now. Okay, so we're going to go back to our package here in NetBeans, and we're going to say, hey, I want a new class. And we're going to write a new class that we can work with here. All right, so for our classes here, let's write a class that we're going to interact with. Let's say this one is our... let's do this. We'll say this is a magic number class. All right, so we have a class for magic number, and it's in the same package. The class name matches the .java file name. This is all basic stuff from 1500. Now, we're going to list the attributes of magic number. Typically, our attributes are private. Right? That is, we are encapsulating all of our details into a single class. We have private attributes, and we have public methods that we expose. Our public API that we're exposing so people can work with us in our abstract interface. Right? They're going to work with us abstractly. We have methods. They will do things, but they don't need to know the details. You're welcome to write it manually. Yeah, with a brand new file. Sure. I mean, yeah. Either way. So private magic number will have the a number, private int for the number. It will have a private int for maybe max number to guess. And it's probably good for right now. Okay. And so what we want to do is we want to make a constructor. Right? The constructor's job is to set values for all of its attributes here. So in our constructor, again, the name matches the name of the class. And then you can have arguments if you want. For us, we want an argument of the max number to guess. Okay. So if you tell us the max number to guess, we're going to set this max number to guess equal to the max number to guess. right? So the this dot is my attribute, my class level attribute, and the max number to guess, the one that's in white, is the argument here. So I'm a big fan of shadowing. For some reason, Mr. Gaddis doesn't like it, but sure, he and I differ in opinions occasionally. So we have a max number. Now what we need to do, we're going to generate a random number and assign it to number. So we're going to use random. So random equals a new random. All right, and Java NetBeans says, oh, I don't know what a random is. So we click the little light bulb and it says, hey, do you want to add the import? Yes, please. Add the import for java.util.random. We like it. Then we can assign number is equal to random.nextInt with a bound of the max number to guess plus 1. Right, so if we say 100, oops, max number to guess. I missed my copy paste there, I guess. So the max number to guess, say if we have 100, will give me 0 to 99 with random.nextInt. Remember, it's not inclusive of that upper bound. So if I add 1, I will then get 1 to 100. Okay, and we also are going to track in here then a private int number of guesses. Okay, we'll have that. And then we'll set my number of guesses to 0. So we've guessed 0 times. We'll pick a random number. Okay. Now we need to write some public methods. So how are people going to use this? Well, we need a public method for guess a number. And for now, we're going to return a Boolean result of yes, we guessed it, or no, we didn't. Right? Or maybe we return a string result, because we can give them some more information here. So we're going to return a string we'll call guess. And it takes an int number to guess. Right? Every time we guess, we're going to take number of guesses plus plus. Goes up by 1. Every time you call the guess method, we're going to increase number of guesses here. And then we'll check. Then we can say, hey, if the number to guess is equal to the number, then we can return, you guessed it correctly in, and then, I don't know, we'll throw a number in there. How about we do a string format? In, and that's a %d for digit for reasons. Guesses. And then we'll add in there the number of guesses. Number of guesses. All right, oh, it's getting a little long there, so we'll bump that down a line. Okay, so if we guessed it correctly, great. We guessed it. Else if, right, if we didn't guess it correctly, how about let's see if the number to guess is less than the number. So if we're less than the number, we're going to say, oh, you're too low. So we don't even need to string format that, right? That's just too low. Too low. Okay. And then if it's not equal to and it's not less than, it must be greater than. So we can just have an else block here. And actually the else is a little bit redundant because we're returning here. So we don't even really need the else's here, but that's okay. We'll say too high. That's our guess. Okay, and maybe we also want to track here. Maybe we have a Boolean for guessed GUE correctly, and then we'll set guessed correctly to false. Okay, so then we need a way to give some of these values there. So maybe we want to tell them whether or not they've guessed it correctly here. Yeah, I upload for sure. Yep, all of this stuff goes to my GitHub repository for the course. Yeah, if you like typing along, maybe type along on the recording. That might be the best bet there. 2151, summer. So all these things will show up here in my GitHub repository that are linked. If you do exclam GitHub there in the chat, Professor Perp, it'll link you to my main repository. You can also find it there in D2O. All right, so we need a way to tell them whether or not we've guessed correctly or not. So maybe we add a method like a public Boolean has guessed correctly. And we just return our guessed correctly. And we also need to make sure that this gets set here. If we did get it correctly, set that to true. So you can see the repos there on GitHub. Make sure you find the one for this semester instead of the one from last semester. Okay, so now we've got this little magic number class here that we can interact with. It has private attributes. It has public methods, the ways we can interact with it. So we can make one, will give us the random number up to a max. We can figure out whether or not we've guessed correctly. We can call guess to get our result back. Okay, let me get that little format. There we go. It looks a little prettier now. And now let's see if we can use it. Right, so remember, a class's job is to have all of the details and all the attributes, expose public methods, and give ways to interact with it. A class's job is rarely ever to print things out to the console. Remember, ideally with our class, when we're doing object-oriented programming, our class should be reusable. You should be able to use this class because it's amazing and fantastic. We can use it in a mobile application or a web application or a desktop application or a console-based application or with a graphical user interface. Right? The class shouldn't care. So what happens if your class is doing system.out.printlines and using scanner to get keyboard input, it is stuck and it can only ever be used in a console-based application because it is relying on that scanner object that only knows how to talk to the keyboard. So we don't want to use that in our classes unless that's the only thing the class is for. Right? Okay. So in main, right, if you're running a main method at the console, then we know it's for console input-output. If we're launching a GUI application, right, inside of main, we know we're going to use input from a GUI. If it's a web application, again, we'll get input from the web, that sort of thing. So whatever portion that the user interacts with, whether or not it's the web or the console or the GUI or a mobile, that's where you do all the input and output stuff. Right? The class itself just needs to do the class things. So here we'll use our scanner. We'll say, you know, how high the number do you want to guess? And then we'll get their input. So we need a scanner. We'll call it keyboard like Mr. Gaddis likes to do, equals a new scanner, given system.in. And then we'll get that, oh, yeah, we need to import, thanks NetBeans, add our import. And then we'll get that max number. So a max number is integer.parseInt given keyboard.nextLine. Right, again, you almost never want to use the scanner nextInt, nextDouble methods because it screws up and it leaves the enter key on the buffer. And you get all sorts of issues the next time you want to go get text. I know we're only ever using integers, so maybe it's fine, but just get into the habit of always just parsing the text. Integer parseInt or double.parseDouble. It'll be in better shape. Okay, so we can make a new magic number. So we'll say a magic number equals a new magic number given the max number. Right, and then we can say while my magic number dot guessed has guessed correctly. We want this not, right? As long as we have not guessed correctly, we want a loop. We'll ask them to guess a number, right? So we'll say guess a number. And then we'll print out whatever we get. I'm sorry, we need to go save that number, right? So then in int number is my integer parseInt. Let's copy paste that in, and then we'll try it. We'll just spit out whatever we get back from magic number dot guess given the number. Okay, so if you're not, you see a lot of these things are auto-filling for me here. If you go to Tools and Options, and if you go to Editor and Code Completion, and you go to the Java drop-down here, Tools, Options, Editor, Code Completion, Java Language, all three of these boxes should probably be checked. The guess-filled method arguments is fantastic. It doesn't always work, but you see how like it filled in number for me? I didn't have to write it. It's just guessing, saying, oh, maybe you're going to use this one. So it's a good, helpful default to have in there. If you find it obnoxious, feel free to turn it off. But I'm a big fan of the computer writing code for me. Okay, and then the auto pop-up on any typing any Java identifier part is fantastic, right? That's how we get all of our code completion. Subword completion is also usually pretty helpful. Okay, so you can turn those on if you don't have them on already in NetBeans, and then some of the stuff kind of happens for you automatically. And we just keep on guessing, right? Until we've guessed it correctly. We are stuck in this loop of have we guessed correctly. We just keep on going, we keep on going, we keep on going, we keep on going. So let's try it. Let's give it a run. Yep, Java does like its semicolons, for sure. All right, so how high of a number? Let's say 100. So we'll guess a number. Sure. How about 50, right? You want to split the middle. Split the difference. So 75, too low. 87, too low. Okay. 93, too high. Okay, so 90. Too high. Okay, so between 87 and 90, how about 89? Too high. It's got to be 88. All right, we guessed it correctly in 7 guesses. Do I know what a Greek question mark looks like? Can't say that I do. All right, so it seems to be working out okay. Pretty cool. All right, are we okay so far? So again, our class is doing all the class things. Our main method is doing all the console input output and then using the class methods. Again, just a basic example. We okay? All right, awesome. So again, hopefully this is all reviewed. It shouldn't be nothing novel, nothing super interesting. Okay, cool. That's magic number. So let's write another class. So this one is easy enough for us to test. Oh, the debugger. I forgot to tell you. So I found out not enough of you typically learn how to use the debugger in 1500. So let's learn how to cheat. It's not cheat. In our game, it's cheating, at least here. So I'm going to put a breakpoint in here. So right at magic number, when I create a new magic number, I want to watch what Java does. So I'm going to come over to line 14 and click on 14 and get a big fat red dot. That's a breakpoint. All right, and then if I run, instead of hitting run, if I hit run with debugger here, Java will stop and wait for me, and it will run line by line by line and let me see what's happening. That's weird. Huh. Get upload. Okay, that doesn't look like it makes any sense to me. All right, so how high of a number do you want to guess? So still in the output here. So we haven't gotten to line 14, so it still hasn't paused yet. So breakpoint will cause it to pause. So let's guess a number. Let's guess up, really big here for fun. And now we see it pause. Now we get the green line. So Java is waiting right here at the green line. And what you can do, you can go to this variables tab, and you can see all of your variables and their details. So right now our max number, I think I put in a million. I forgot to count the number of zeros. That's not super interesting at this point, but we can see all of our variables. We can see the args. We can see our keyboard named scanner, right? But now we have a new menu here at the top. We have stop, we have pause, we have continue, we have step over, we have step over expression, and we have step into and step out. So the most useful ones are going to be step over and step into. Most of the time. We'll occasionally want to step out. So we're going to step into our constructor here. So this means go into the code that we're calling, and then we'll see it jumps to the magic number file, the constructor method. We can see the number to guess, right? Now we have a new set of variables because these are the variables that magic number knows about. Right? This is the magic number instance, right? These are all the defaults. Right? We're going to go change those defaults here in a minute. I mean, actually most of them aren't going to change, but that's okay. Right? We should explicitly set them anyway. Don't rely on those defaults. That's a bad habit. And now I can step over and I'll see line by line by line how this works. And I'll see my max number to guess now got set. And I'll see my number's about to get set. So I can see the number right here. So that is 175,546. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. And I think that copied. Yep. Okay, it copied. And I can continue stepping and stepping. It hits the curly brace and it ends the constructor. We come back to where we were. Right, and now we can step into our while loop, or we can just hit continue now, because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to find out what that magic number was. So I'm going to hit continue. It's just going to keep going till it hits another breakpoint. We'll come back to our output. So guess the number. We paste that in, and we guessed it correctly with one guess because we cheated with the debugger. Right, so the debugger is fantastic. It lets you see the actual value of all of your variables, and you can see as your code steps. So if you have these big if blocks here, right, if you go to guess and you're going to say if, else, I've got a bunch of conditions here, you could pause it with a breakpoint and watch to make sure it goes to the correct one. And this is kind of how we track down bugs. We debug with the debugger, right? Because if it's not doing what we expect, we want to kind of inspect and see what's happening behind the scenes. We can see that. So that's one way of using the debugger here. Remind me, I gotta keep showing those examples. You want to get familiar with the debugger because that's going to help you anytime it's not doing what you expect it to do. Okay? Just curious, how many of you did use the debugger in 1500? Or how many of you didn't? Maybe, if you don't mind sharing, yes or no? You did not, okay. That's really unfortunate, 7. Yeah, the debugger Visual Studio is fantastic, man. Definitely. All right, so he showed you perp, but didn't use it a whole lot. Okay. You didn't use it in 1500, but you used it a lot for, yeah, your programming for engineering. Fantastic. Sorry, that fork noise is terrible. I didn't get a chance to finish dinner because my nap. I don't regret the nap, though. It was fantastic. All right. So this was pretty fun. A nice example here. So magic number, this one is actually really tricky for us to test because it's using random. And there's ways around that. There are definitely ways around it. Probably nothing we need to cover because when we're dealing with random, that's just a little bit trickier for us to unit test. There's ways to make it not be so random, but we haven't really talked about a lot of those topics yet. So we're not actually going to unit test magic number. Okay, this is just a little example using the debugger, how we can interact with a class, right? The class has encapsulated all of its details. It exposes its abstract public interface, its API, right? Or application programming interface, it's the abstract, sure. I mean, I guess I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. But we interact with this public methods, right? To make the class do things, and we do all the input and output here. So for our fundamentals of object-oriented programming, right? Encapsulation, abstraction, we haven't done inheritance yet. We'll get to inheritance, and polymorphism we'll get to as well. That sort of goes hand in hand with inheritance. Okay? So let's do another class. Let's come up with another one here. Let's do a new class. And let's do, this is our autopilot plane. So we're going to look at imagining we're going to write some autopilot logic for a plane. Here, again, we're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to have a basic set of logic here. Okay. Sorry, I'm checking on this. Let's see. Some people email me in the middle of class to see what's going on, so I think they're all okay now. All right. So our plane for autopilot is going to know a couple things, right? It's probably going to know a max altitude. Altitude. That looks right. And anytime we have a number here, we need units. You should always include units in your variable name. So we're going to do in meters because we are going to adopt the metric system whether or not you folks like it or not, because our imperial system for measurement is stupid. Why are there 12 inches in a foot? Why are there 5,280 feet in a mile? It makes no sense, right? We're going to use meters and centimeters and kilometers because they make so much more sense. Okay? So we'll have a max altitude in meters. We'll have a Boolean for landing gear enabled, right? Whether or not our landing gear is enabled. We'll have a private int for the current altitude. Altitude in meters, again, in meters. Okay. What else? Let's see. What else should our plane know, our autopilot plane know about itself? That's probably good for now, okay? So what we need then is a constructor. Oh, maybe we have a string for name, right? How about a string for name? String for the name. Sure. We always like to have names here. So we're going to write a constructor. Now, again, I'm a fan of not doing more work than I need to. So I'm going to right-click and go to Insert Code. And I want to insert a constructor that takes a max altitude and a string for name. I'm going to assume your landing gear is enabled, true, and your current altitude is probably 0. I understand altitude is not always 0. Right? I understand that. We're generalizing here. We can go change it later if we so care to. Right? So again, it pops in a method for me, and then I just need to go set my other values here. So my current altitude we'll say is 0, and we'll say the landing gear enabled is true. Okay, so that's our constructor. take some arguments, set some default values. The constructor's job is to give all of your attributes its values. Okay? Then what we need to do is we need some get methods for some of these things. So I'm going to do insert code, and I'm going to add some getter methods for current altitude, for landing gear, for max, and for name. Why not? We'll do all of them here. We have a get altitude in meters. We have a is landing gear enabled. Right, returns the true or false. The get altitude in meters and a get name. Fantastic. Right, let NetBeans do the work for you. You don't need to do more work than you need to. Right, be efficiently lazy, please. All right, so now we don't want sets though. We don't want a set current altitude, because we don't want someone to just be able to say, oh, here's your new altitude. It doesn't, right? The idea is we want to change our altitude. We want to either be going up or be going down, and then we're going to add a little bit of logic here to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So with our plain autopilot, we're going to say, hey, if your landing gear is not enabled, you probably shouldn't go less than 1,000 meters. Right? We're just making it up. I don't actually know what the rules are for planes here, but I'm going to assume you should not get very close to the ground unless your landing gear is enabled. So we're going to make our autopilot program enforce that. Okay, so we're going to have a method here, and for now we'll just have a boolean, because this will be a true or false. Pizza, thank you so much for looking out for me. Let me grab my little backboard here, because I am slouching. Can you tell? Like I slouch and slouch and slouch and slouch more and more and more. This is me standing up with a straight back. My head actually hits the bunk here. So I do need to watch out for my slouching. All right, so we're going to have a method for change altitude. Change altitude. And then we'll have an int for meters to change. Okay, so if you tell me how many meters to change, we'll try. Posture is really important, especially if you're sitting all day long, right? You'll ruin your back, which is really unfortunate. I finally got it fixed up after seeing the chiropractor for a while. Had a bad back for a while, which is unfortunate. Is this the header class? This is the class itself. So Java has no concept of headers, Miad. All of your class just goes in the file. All right. So to change altitude, again, we're gonna check a couple things, right? So we want to make sure that if we are currently less than that number of meters, and we should probably put a name to, right? We don't want to have those magic numbers. You don't want to just have a number that means something without a name. So if we're just going to say, hey, if my current altitude is less than 1,000, then do something, right? This 1,000 here is now a magic number because it has no context. So we want to set a value here. So we'll have a private, and this is probably a final, right? It could be a constant here because we're going to set this and never change it again. Like our plane, this is the rule. We don't want it adjustable here. And we don't want to be able to change it by mistake and then screw up our autopilot and kill people, right? We got to be careful with software. So this will be the, I don't know, what, an int for meters at which landing gear is required. Or what, altitude in meters maybe? How about that? Altitude in meters at which landing gear is required. This is a perfectly fine variable name. Although it's final, it should be all uppercase, shouldn't it? Shoot. Okay, hang on, let's try that again. So altitude at which landing gear is required. And we'll say 1,000. In meters, right? There we go. It's a little long, but that's okay. You know exactly what this variable means. If you have to put a comment in to tell someone what your variable means, you've done it wrong. Okay? The variable should tell you what it means by its name. Okay? So now I can say, hey, if my current altitude is less than the altitude at which landing gear is required in meters, boom. So currently we're less than that altitude. We have no problem. We can keep on descending. No problem, right? Okay? So that's no problem. So if it is greater than, right, that's our else case here, right? So less than or greater than, we'll have to do something else. So if we're less than, then we can just take our meters to change. Should be fine, right? So then we'll take our current altitude in meters, but we probably also want a sanity check, right? So let's check and see if the meters to change, what do we want to do here? If our current meters plus the meters to change, if that becomes less than 0, right? Because this could be a negative number, right? This change altitude could be negative to go down, it could be positive to go up. So if we're going to add and go less than 0, we've done a bad thing. Let's just return false. Say, nope, can't do that. Okay. Otherwise, we'll take our current altitude in meters, and we'll just add the meters to change. Right? Plus equals the meters to change. Okay. That sound good? Now, this is autopilot, so we should see now if we're above this altitude at which it's required. Right, so now we'll check to see if our current altitude is greater than the altitude at which landing gear is required. Then we'll turn our landing gear off. Right, set it off. So if we've gone above that altitude, let's turn off the landing gear. Right, we're ascending, we're higher than the 1,000 meters we need to be. We started less than. We made sure we didn't go negative. Right? Changed. If we went higher than that, let's turn off the landing gear. If we're not less than that, that means we're at, right, or above. Maybe that should be less than or equal to, right? Hydration. Thank you so much, King. I'm out of beverage. We'll have to get another beverage on break. All right. So if we're at or above, I'm sorry, we're less than or at that distance. We'll see, make sure we don't hit less than 0, make the change, and then turn off the landing gear. A hat, you got it. Let's do the Mickey hat. I did just brought yesterday. We'll represent the mouse today. Can the output pop out? Maybe over here. I'm not actually sure. Probably can. So actually, we might want to even check in here too. So this is if we're less than. Okay, so if we're greater than that altitude which the landing gear is required, then now we need to go and see if we need to turn on the landing gear. Right, so if the change in altitude, right, if that is less than the altitude at which this is required, let's enable the landing gear. Our landing gear enabled is true. You know, we missed one other check too, I forgot. So this is, we added here, and we want to make sure we didn't go above max. So one more time, so if our current altitude here now then is above max altitude in meters, our autopilot will just say, hey, current becomes max. Right? You'd wanted to go up 10,000 meters and we can't get that high. We'll go up as much as we can and then we'll stop here. Right? So this is checking to make sure we didn't go above our max. So we don't ascend higher than the max altitude. Okay? Then we'll see, hey, if we can turn off the landing gear or not. Right? So if we're above the altitude, now we're going to see, hey, if we go below that altitude, turn on the landing gear. Right? That's our if here. Oh, I need curly braces for if. I know curly braces aren't required in a single line if statement, but I'm going to tell you should always, always, always use curly braces, no matter what. Right? It is silly to not, because you folks probably don't remember, but years ago, there was an issue with the Safari web browser where there was a vulnerability and SSL was broken in certain situations, which is really bad to not be able to have a secure internet connection in Safari. And it turned out the root cause was one of the developers on Safari did not use curly braces around a single line if statement. They did not use them when they should have, because they wanted 2 or 3 lines of code to run, but because they didn't, only one of those lines of code ran in the if block, and then everything else ran no matter what. And this was in the Safari web browser. I mean, what you'd think was a relatively pretty polished product coming out of our friends over there at Apple. But, you know, mistakes happen. So we're going to always use curly braces no matter what, because it's a good practice. Right? Super explicit. Okay? So if we're going less than our altitude, let's make sure our landing gear is enabled. Then Maybe also do the same check here, right? I'm going to feel a little bad that we're copy pasting, but not too bad about it, I guess. So, hey, if we are going to go less than 0, we'll just return false. We're done. Did not work. This other case here then, right? So we didn't return false. At the end of that, let's return true. Right? Tell them, okay, successful. This was good. Everything was fine. And here then, so if we are going to go less than 0, return false. If we need to turn on the landing gear, we'll turn on the landing gear. Great. Other than that, right, we'll just add it and make sure we didn't go above max. That sound good? Let's see. And then we should return true. Everything is all good. Okay, so lots of different ways we could have done this, right? This is not the only way you can have the if-else logic in here, because right, there's a couple different things we were checking here, which is all fine. Right? Maybe we could have done this one first. Yeah, okay, I like that. Let's do that one first. So we'll just take that out here first and say, hey, if you're going to go below 0, you're done, no good, and then we don't need to check again here. I like that. We're simplifying. Okay, and then we're going to check, hey, are we already below the altitude we need? And then we can turn off the landing gear if we're going up. Or if we're above that altitude, we need to turn the landing gear on if we're going low. It is a good variable name, isn't it? Let's see. So this check here, now we actually make our change. I think we need to leave it in. Yeah, but you know exactly what it means, though. The altitude at which landing gear is required in meters. Right? No one says you can't have long variable names. Right? Variable names should be descriptive. If you have to put a comment in to tell me what your variable is, you did it wrong. Okay? I'm anti-comment to a fault, which is sometimes unfortunate. Man, that's empty. That's a bummer. Okay? So we got a lot of different stuff happening here. Okay, making sure we didn't go above max, returning true. Okay, you know, maybe that could move here. Maybe this check for if could move. Okay, I like that. I like that. We're going to take out this check. We're going to move this here, so we're not going to return true yet. And then we're going to take this out as well here. We're going to take that one out. Then we'll put this in at the end, and then we'll return true. Right, just trying to reorganize a little bit here. Right, so if we need to turn on the landing gear, we'll turn it on. We'll make our change. We'll make our change. If we need to turn off the landing gear, we need to turn it off. Ooh, should we make that change first? Is that what we're doing? Look at that. Okay, so we made the change first, and then we saw if we had to turn it on. Maybe we could just use that. Okay, so let's do that then. Then can we just do this? We just say, hey, we'll make the change either case, and if we're less than, we'll turn it on or off. I think we could do that. Here, look at that. We'll simplify it even more here. So there's an if, an else, and really we don't even need the else, right? We don't need another if inside of here. We can get rid of that one. Is this all doing it? So we're not hitting the ground. Let's make the change. If we're above, let's turn off the landing gear. Else we'll turn on the landing gear. Format. Okay, and then if we're above max, reset to max, return true. All's good. All's well in the world. Look at that. We simplified it. Right? Lots of different ways we could have written it. It's okay. I think this is still readable. I think it still gets the point across, so I think we're in good shape here. Okay? So now what we want to do, we want to go and test our class. Did we do it right? Okay? So what you would have done in the past is you would have come over to your class with the main method, and you would have written a bunch of code here using autopilot plane class and looking at your output. Now I'm going to tell you, humans are bad at that, right? Because just like when you write an English paper and then you have to go proof it for mistakes, you know what you expected to have happen, so you're going to gloss over things often. It just happens. Okay? So what we want is we want the computer to do this for us, because the computer won't make mistakes unless we tell it to make those mistakes. Right? It'll do exactly what we told it to do. So I'm going to come up to the class autopilot plane, right click, and I'm going to say navigate to tests. Test/tested class. And that means we'll say, oh, we don't have one. Do you want to make one? We'll say, yes, please. So I like all of these checkboxes. Now, the JUnit framework does not play well with Java with Ant, which is unfortunate. So you want to use JUnit 4 if you're using Java with Ant. Okay, that's just always use JUnit 4 if we're doing these Java with Ant projects. The other ones should work fine. I don't know why it doesn't work with Ant yet, but it's just not worth figuring out because it works with 4. Okay, you don't need any of this generated code. Don't worry about that. But the method access levels, leave those checked. That should be fine because it's going to generate a bunch of methods for us, which is really cool. Okay, we'll say okay, and it's going to write a bunch of test code for us. It creates a new, over in the test packages, autopilot plain test file here. And we can take out some of this nonsense here. And we get a bunch of methods. We get a test change altitude, test get max altitude, test is landing gear enabled, test current altitude, test get name. These ones are actually kind of boring, and I'm going to get rid of them. Because the max altitude, landing gear enabled, so testing the gets here, we can do when we test our constructor. And it doesn't give us a test constructor method. So I'm actually going to get rid of those here. And I'm going to write a app test. So this is an annotation. It's telling Java, hey, this is a test. Public void, we'll say test constructor. Oops, no, not square braces. My goodness, curly braces. There we go. Okay, so our curly braces here. Test constructor. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use this AAA format. So that stands for arrange, stands for act, and it stands for assert. So what you do, you're going to set up, this is where we set up all the variables we need. Test, we act, is we call the code being tested, and then we assert. We say, did we get what we expected? Okay, so we do this in this sort of format here. It's a convention, not a rule. There are other ways to write tests, but I'm quite partial to this one here because I think it makes it very readable. So if everyone writes their tests the same way, it's very easy to go and look at them. Right? Just like we write code for people, unit tests are for people too. The computer just needs to be able to understand what we're trying to do. So for arranging here, we're going to set up a bunch of variables. We'll have a string for the expected name, or we'll call this one, I don't know, 747. And then we'll have a string, an int for an expected max altitude in meters. I don't actually know how high 747s fly, so let's go Google it because I'm curious now. Max altitude, a 747. Why does it give it to you in feet? 45,000 feet, 2 meters. 13,746 meters. And I'm going to use an integer value. Forgive me for not taking that last half a meter here, because I want an int. Okay? 13,000 meters. Awesome. That's really high up in the sky. Wow. Okay? And then we're also going to say, so this is all the variables we need to test. So all the expected variables. So we'll have an expected current altitude. Altitude in meters is 0. And a Boolean expected landing gear enabled is true. Right? Should probably start with some landing gear on. Oh, man. Oh, no, that's not. Oh, no, that's terrible. That is not unit testing. I mean, it is, but it's doing it the hard way. No, we are going to make the computer do it for us, because that's the right way. Right? The computer knows how to do that work for us. Yes, the computer is very good at doing unit tests. It's fantastic. All right, so we've set up some of these attributes here. These are the things we expect. So now we're actually going to call some code. So I'm going to make a autopilot plane. Oops, no, autopilot plane equals a new autopilot plane. And we need to give it what? What arguments do we need to give autopilot plane? I forgot already. We give it the max altitude and the string for name. So we're going to give it the expected max altitude and the expected name. And I'll bump that down a little bit because it's getting a little long there. Okay, so it'll make a plane. So we are calling the code. This is the code we're testing here. And then we're going to have a string for actual name. And we'll say my plane.getName. That's the name that the plane code actually says. And this is the actual result for my code here. So I have an expected result, and I have the actual result. And I'll have an int for actual max altitude in meters is plain dot get max altitude in meters. Right? And I'll have a int for actual current altitude in meters is my plain dot get current altitude in meters. Okay, and then I'll have a boolean for the actual actual landing gear enabled. Gear enabled is my plain dot is landing gear enabled. So this is the code that we're testing, right? We're testing all of these get methods, which are really boring, but we only have to do it once. And we're testing the constructor. Okay, because any code that's worth writing is worth testing. Right? Because you want to make sure you did it right. If the code that you wrote isn't worth testing, then it wasn't worth writing. Because if you don't care if it did the right thing or not, you shouldn't have written it in the first place. Okay, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Okay, now we're going to assert. So with asserts, we have these assert. Oh goodness. So a bunch of methods. We get assert equal, where we give it an expected and an actual. And so we'll say, hey, my expected name and the actual name. And Java will check, did they match? And then we assert equal. Again, a expected max altitude and the actual max altitude. And we assert equals the expected current altitude and the actual current altitude. And then we assert. Now this one actually is fun. We probably don't even need this expected landing gear enabled, because what you get here is you can assert true instead of assert equals. I don't need to say does true equal true. You're going to code in imperial format font. That's fun. I've been meaning to actually add some channel point rewards to make me change the font. But I thought that might be fun. There's one guy I watch. I forget who it is. You can change the font with channel rewards, and it gets to be hilarious occasionally when you pick terrible fonts. So we're just saying, hey, this should be true. I don't need to say, is it actually true, right? And the call filtering is awesome. Scam likely, just got to ignore those. So we could have the expected and say, does true equal true? But it's just as easy to say, hey, assert true here. So like with a Boolean, I'm usually fine with saying, let's just not worry about it. And now, someone had asked last semester when we were looking at this, why don't we just use these get methods here in actual? You definitely can. But what this lets you do is put a breakpoint in and see what the value is without having to step into the method. So I'm fond of saving them off as variables first and then just saying expected and actual match. That's just me. If you want to do it the other way, that's okay too. You would just say like plain.is landing gear enabled here in the assert true. But then like it also sort of mixes up your act and your assert. So again, I'm more partial to all of the code gets called in act and all the asserts happen in assert. We're just, here does this variable match. All right, then what we get to do, we right click and we say run test or test file. And NetBeans is a really handy test viewer. We'll get that in a second. Where did it go here? Shoot. There we go. Nope, that's not it. Oh goodness, it's hiding it. Where did it go? Test results. So in the window IDE tools, you want to test results. Change the font to Papyrus. So in the test result viewer, so that's Windows, IDE tools, test results. Here we can see, hey, our test passed. Now, actually, the test change altitude passed as well. So you have to be careful here because tests will pass by default. So unless something fails, it assumes it's a pass. So just be a little careful there. And if you don't see them at all, these are little filters here. A lot of times people filter out the passed tests because they only want to see the failed ones. I'm going to put it back on here. Papyrus font? Do we even have the Papyrus font? I'm really curious now. Do we have Papyrus? Look at that. That's pretty. Are you okay with having some fun and doing Papyrus for a minute, or is this too terrible looking? I'm here to entertain as well. I didn't change the rest of the font though, did it? Okay, so that was just my editor font. That's okay. We probably have to do a look and feel thing for that. I know. I have to remember to put it back when I'm done. All right, so this is our tests. Again, I did not have tests for all the other get methods because I do that in the constructor. Right. So one of the ideas with writing unit tests is that we want to get something called 100% code coverage. And that's an ideal, it's a goal, it's fantastic. It's hard to get to sometimes, so we don't always get there. But what that means is when our tests are running, we want 100% of our code to have been run. And if you think about that for a minute, what that really means here, sorry, charging my phone, is every if and else block has to be exercised. So if we check out the autopilot plane here, look at that. How did that unpin? No, okay. There we go. So our constructor doesn't have any if-else blocks. So in our test for the constructor here, in our get methods, all of these lines of code run, and all of these gets lines of code run. Fantastic. But when we go to test altitude, test change altitude, if we never give it a situation in which we are going to go below 0 and we return false, we don't have 100% code coverage because this line of code never runs in our unit testing. Okay? If we give it a situation in which we never go above the max and have to reset to max, this line of code never runs. We don't have 100% code coverage. So the idea with code coverage is that you want to make sure that in your tests, every one of these blocks here, this block or this block, is being exercised. Right, so we need a test in which we go above and set landing gear off. We need a test in which we go below and set landing gear on. We need a test in which we go above the max and we reset max. Okay? So there are tools you can get that will measure this for you automatically, which is really super fancy. I'm not aware of any free ones, but again, I didn't do a whole lot of searching in Java land. But again, so we're going to kind of eyeball this code coverage ideal and say, yes, we want to get to 100% code coverage. So in my class, I want to make sure when I test it that this block runs, and this block runs, and this block runs, and this block runs, and this, like, every line of code will eventually be run. And what that means is you can have more than one test. So we're going to test change altitude below 0. So I'm going to, again, give nice, meaningful names to all of these things here. We'll have a bunch of them. Change altitude above max. Right, we're going to exercise those lines of code. Let's do another one here that enables landing gear. And another one that disables landing gear. Okay, so I'm going to have all of these different tests I'm going to write here to make sure that I get into all of these different blocks. Right, so I know I've got those 4 different blocks here that I want, so I need 4 different tests. And again, each unit test should be small. The unit test should test essentially one thing. I know we did all the gets at once, but really it was testing the constructor. We decided to test the gets along with it. But like, you don't want to have 5 different checks in change altitude all in one change altitude method. You don't want to like go up, go down, go up, go down, go above max, go below, because you want to have this nice AAA format where we arrange, we act, and we assert. If you were to do that again, you'd have to repeat yourself and have another act and another assert block. And that's just kind of considered bad form. Okay? So I'm going to copy paste this. We're going to change our altitude below 0. Hey, thanks so much for following, Chu King. Glad to have you along. So to change your altitude below 0 here, again, we don't need any of these other pieces here. And then some people say that really the constructor is no longer acting in that point. And I guess that's true. Not too big of a deal here. So we'll put the constructor here in the arrange. Right? Because we need the plane here to work on, but that's not the code we're testing. So act should be the code that we're testing. Again, I don't really care one way or the other where you put it. I'll usually put it in the arrange, because I'll test the constructor first, and then I'll test all these other methods. So in act, then, what we're going to do is we're going to try and go below 0 and see what result we get back. So we're going to have a Boolean for change, what an actual change altitude result is equal to my plane.change altitude. And let's just go like -10. Right? We start at 0. We know we start at 0 here. Okay, so if we try and go below that, we should get back false. And then we can say assert false, the actual change altitude result. And we can run that test. Open the test result window. Yeah, look at that. Again, they all pass because unless you fail, you default pass, which is a little bit ugly, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to copy all this here. Then for changing altitude above max, so let's change altitude by, I don't know, let's do like max times 2. Right, and then we'll get the actual altitude. Altitude in meters is my plane.get altitude, or get current altitude in meters. And then we'll say, we're going to assert equal that my expected, I guess expected max, right, should be the actual altitude. Right? We expect the actual to be the max, because we tried to go double that. Right, we didn't actually need the Boolean result here either, then, did we? You know, might as well. We'll leave that here. And then we'll also assert that true. So we'll assert true that it didn't bomb on us here. Right, we get a true back, and then our altitude stays at max. Let's try that. All right, it's passing. Let's try another. So let's, in where we're going in a way that enables the landing gear. Right, well, if we change somewhat less than that max number, right, if we just change like 500, right, we should say our landing gear would be enabled then. So again, we'll have the change result, and then we'll have a Boolean for actual landing gear status. Plane.is landing gear enabled. And we can assert that one as true. Oops, that should be a Boolean. We'll have another assert true. Now this one's not actually great here because we didn't go above to the point where we're going to have to turn it off and then turn it on again. So maybe go up like 1500 and then let's go down 1000. Right? I don't know. This one's a little trickier. Man, I can't type Boolean. So we'll go up 1500 feet to turn off the landing gear, go down to turn the landing gear back on, get the status, to make sure that flipping is working for us, right? I think that's kind of the goal here. Right, and then if we just go up 1500, we should be assert false. Oh, that should be a Boolean actual change altitude result. Okay, and then we should assert false that our landing gear is now off after we've gone above that 1000 mark. Right, we'll run our tests. Awesome, look at that, and our tests are passing. We should feel pretty good here now that the code does what we've expected it to do because we have actually written it in more code. Right, we've told the computer, go check these things for us. Now again, let's go flip this here. So let's just go screw this up, and we'll flip these here to true and false, right? Because it's really possible we make typos and we screw things up. Okay, we'll go run our tests. Oops, where's my test output? Test results. There we go. And now we see, hey, they failed. And what you can do here, you can click on it. Nope, test results. Where's the message? There's the message. Make that a little bit bigger here. It says, JUnit assertion failed error. At chapter 6 examples, autopilot plane test, line 90. Where's the message? I think it's like a nice message. All right, it's not giving a nice... Oh, these are just true and false is why. Okay, that's all right. Okay, let's see. Can we go... Let me change this one here. So the get current altitude, we'll put it 0 here. I'm just trying to break these real fast. Test our file. Take a look at our test results. Test change altitude up here. This is what I was looking for. So those assert true and false, they just fail. But like this one says, hey, we expected this number, but it was 0. So just looking at your unit test output results is telling you, hey, you told me you wanted this number. What you actually got was here. So the assert equals are really good at that. They'll give you those numbers back out. Let me undo that one, and then we'll undo our other changes here as well. Right, put those ones back. And we'll come back and run our tests again. Or you can just come back here and you can run all tests again. The test viewer is awesome. Okay, and now our tests go back to passing. So what we're going to do, it's 7:15, folks. I'm sorry, we should have taken a break a while ago. For our project number 1 is you'll write a class and you will include unit tests to ensure 100% code coverage, in that every block of code is exercised in the unit test. And now it doesn't actually mean, though, that we're perfect, right? It's still possible we screwed up, or it's possible that we screwed up the code and we screwed up the test, right? So we're not guaranteed to be bug-free just because we have unit tests, but we are much less likely to have bugs because we have gone through this exercise of unit testing. So unit testing will typically increase the quality of your code, reduce the bugs that you have. I mean, it's fantastic. Now, when you're writing new software, it's not the worst thing in the world to go to 100% unit testing, 100% code coverage with your unit tests. If you're working with existing software, it's a little harder, right? Because then you're going to have to retrofit the unit tests in, and at some point you're not getting as much value back out. So, I mean, one of the reasons that we love unit testing is because you want to make sure the code does it right. But if we can increase quality of our code, it's a good thing. So getting like half of your code unit tested gives you a big jump in quality. Getting the next like 20% or 30% unit tested gives you a smaller jump in quality, right? So you're getting sort of this diminishing returns on your investments in testing. And to get from like 90% code coverage to 100% code coverage, that last little bit, those are like the hardest ones, because of course you're going to do the easy ones first. It's going to take a little bit more work, and you're not going to get as much return out of it. So it's sometimes a business decision to say whether or not you want to invest in 100% code coverage or not. And it's okay if we don't land at 100%. We shouldn't feel too bad about it. I mean, it's a good ideal. It's great and fantastic. And any new code we write, we should get there for sure. But if we can't, don't feel too bad about it. All right, so why don't we take a break? I've been talking for a while here, so you guys got to interrupt me and just stop me if I go in too long. I'll put some music back on. We'll come back in about 10 minutes or so and pick it back up with Chapter 6 and more unit testing, okay?
I just want to feel free, and I just want to be me. Yeah, I just want to go so crazy. I just want to be a freak. Yeah, I just want to rise to the top. Yeah, I just want to go reach the peak. So I've been really well focused on success. Hey, y'all will see. Yeah, you won't see that I will get it. Cause I'm really focused, man. I make it with the rap and I just follow my path. I just follow my passion. To me, this is what's precious. Yeah, in my soul, man, I can feel it. So every single verse, man, I just gotta go and kill it, man. I gotta be the kid. I could be the guy taking you wild. I could be the villain, but good as a kid. Lately, I'm painting my path on my way. Yeah, I got no time that I can waste. So I've been sitting in the space. Yeah, making rest every day, man. You know that I go insane. Yeah, I hit you with a bullet to the brain. Let us stop first, cause we going insane. You don't know what I'm gonna do. You don't know what is next. And I'm loving the fact, truly it's making me blessed. Cause I work on my team, no snakes in the grass. And we have a trust in the wind because of the work that we did in the past. Because of the work that we did in the past. When we went to hours, we barely got rest. So I get the realm and we didn't finesse. So I got the feelings that we might be next. Cause when we go in, we win in the match. Sure. When we go in, we win in the match. So that's how we do, cause we be the best. We be the best. Yeah, we be the best. Yeah, we be the best. Yeah, we be the best. Hey, yeah, we be the best. Hey, we be the best. Yo, you wanna come on my test? Well, you want to see we the best. Hey, you don't see that we're the best kid, so I suggest you never really come and test it. But otherwise, I will smack your face like Michael Jordan does with a ball in the basket. Oh damn kid, but you didn't expect it. You never really thought that this could just happen. But now really come on and we pull out with the action. Cause people defeat those they don't get it like.
Oh yeah. Are we talking about losing control? I'ma show you how we lose control, baby. Watch this. Look, Marty Mark. Watch the way I start up. I've been going hard, but I can go way harder. Every beat I'm on, yeah, you know that I slaughter. And I'm always looking gorgeous, chilling with somebody's daughter. Yeah, she loving me. Say she love the way my chain sitting contemplate. And of course it says my name if you wondering. To let you know who's finna blow. Always winning, check the scope. I'm only losing control. Oh, I like losing control.
This is Ice-T and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and
This is a cold call. We're on a mission to get America to switch to cold water washing with Tide.
it saves you energy.
And that saves you up to $150 a year on your energy bill.
Plus, Tide cleans better in cold than the bargain brand in hot. So what are you waiting for?
Turn to cold because Stone Cold said so.
Turn to cold with Tide.
Energy savings based on average when switching from hot to cold and non-HE machines. Performance based on Tide Power Pods versus leading baking soda packs.
At Kroger, everything we sell is guaranteed fresher than fresh because our associates constantly check to make sure everything is at the peak of freshness. That means peeking at the peaches, spying on the steaks, and delving deep into the dairy department. So everything we sell is guaranteed fresh, or we'll make it right. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Get more ways to save at the Buy 5 or More Save $1 each sale. Just buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Refinance your auto loan and drive down your payment with an auto loan from MSU Federal Credit Union. For a limited time, you'll enjoy rates as low as 1.99% APR, and you could win a year's worth of free gas. We offer flexible terms, and there are no prepayment penalties. If you're in the market for a new or new-to-you car, we offer the same low rate on new and used vehicles. Visit msufcu.org for full details and to apply today. APR is annual percentage rate.
Cause we be on a tough love. Oh, we feeling so high. Don't be afraid of falling, falling. Cause you know we gon' fly. Cause we be on a tough love. Oh, we feeling so high. Don't be afraid of falling, falling. Cause you know we gon' fly. Cause we be on a tough love.
Hey folks, how's everybody doing? Welcome on back. I forgot to get my beverage. I was talking to the kids and forgot to grab that. That's a bummer. It's alright, we'll grab one in a little bit. Alright. How's it going? I know unit testing is new. Let me switch back to a regular font here if you don't mind. What were we using before? Mono-spaced or something? That was fun for a little while, but now we'll go back to something more sane. Okay, and let me commit and push all these examples here. So here's our classes and unit testing. Commit and push. All right, we okay so far? Cool. So let's talk about the project. And actually, I think that's all we've got on tap for today. Because 6 is mostly a review. I know the unit testing stuff was new, but so we'll look at classes. So you'll get a good chance to get a head start on the project tonight. If you have any questions, let me know. I can be around. We can answer. Hop on a screen sharing session or whatnot. Again, if you didn't get Project Zero in successfully, please let me know. Happy to make sure that does work for you, because we definitely need to be up and running with all of our tools here. Okay? So here, let's take a look. Assignments. Let's pull up Project 1 here. Okay, I mean, you can click the link. You just have to copy it because you can't get the D2L. Project 1, this will be due in 2 weeks. So on June 1st at 6 p.m. Right? At 6 p.m. I'm going over the solution to it. So we've got to get it in by 6 p.m. Make a new grade at projects. Go. All right, and this will be a text submission. So please link to your feedback pull request for Project 1. And I'd also like you to do a self-assessment using the attached rubric. So for each item on the rubric, right, tell me if you got the point or not. Tell me if you got the point or not. Tell me if you got the point or not. Okay? So, got the point or not for each item. Okay, I'll give you another link here. Oh, where's my link? Let me see. I think I've got it. Let me look here real quick. In this GitHub classroom thing. Let's see. Yeah, okay, this ought to do it here. I think that link will work for you there. Let me just try that real quick. Make sure it's fresh. Yep. There's for project 1. Again, this one's just empty. I had big plans to make this Gradle thing work, and then Gradle just died on me here, so we're just not going to work with that auto grader stuff yet. It might take me a little longer to get that working. But this will create the repository for you. Right, clone the repository. Right. Oops. Create repository. Repository, and clone it on your computer. The project inside the folder. Okay. Where'd you folks go? There we go. Opera GX, forcing dark mode on every page. Oh, that would be nice. Yeah. There's no dark mode here in D2L. It's sad. The rest of it's dark mode, but yeah, it doesn't force the pages to be. I feel like it shouldn't be that hard. Maybe it is with CSS or something. I don't know. Yeah, Chrome is awful, actually. I don't recommend anyone use Chrome. I've actually uninstalled it on all my computers. It's just spyware at this point. I mean, sure, we all sell our information to Google, but nice. I didn't know Opera was still around. Excuse me. Yeah, some sort of plugin for automatic dark mode. All right. So we're going to create a little project that lets people pretend to play the lottery. This is a Powerball Simulator. Okay, so this will just be a console-based application. We're getting the JavaFX stuff a little bit later. We'll do some practice before the final project with that, but we haven't had a chance to get it all set up yet. So this will just be console-based application. Console-based application. So we're going to write a class for Powerball ticket. You hate it because Windows advertises it to you. Yeah. So our Powerball ticket class, right, will have all of the attributes of a Powerball ticket. So the Powerball lottery here. So this is Powerball lottery. I forget. Sure. Powerball.com. There we go. Yep. Should have been able to find that a little easier. Okay. The attributes, Powerball, and Powerball ticket, and public methods. So a single Powerball ticket is made up of 5 white numbers and 1 red number. Okay? So where's our information here? How to play. So the 5 white numbers are 1 to 69, and the red number is 1 to 26. Okay? So you can either pick your numbers, choose your numbers, or you can get a random ticket. So we're going to allow you to select their numbers, or by X number of randomly generated tickets. Tickets. So if they want to buy 100 random tickets, let them buy 100 random tickets. Okay? And then generate a random Powerball ticket for the winner, the winning ticket. Compare all the tickets with the winning ticket. See how much the player wins, how much the player loses. If you're making money, you've done this wrong, right? You're guaranteed to lose money playing Powerball the more you play. Right? That's just a fact. right? They would not offer a lottery that loses the state money. Okay, sure. There's the one in how many chances here? Where's my odds here? Odds of winning anything here are 1 in 24.9. Didn't they used to have the odds? Used to have the odds here. Prizes and odds chart. Here we go. So the chance of winning that grand prize here are 1 in 292 million here. So that's 5 numbers, 1 to 69 in combination, plus the red ball having to match 1 to 26. That's your odds here. So this is how much they win. Don't worry about any of these power play things. Just go off the straight prize sheet here. And for the grand prize, just make up a number. I don't care. Make up a really big number. Make it $1 billion if you want. That's okay. Right? So with our Powerball ticket class, the Powerball ticket class include a method for get winnings that accepts another Powerball ticket instance as the winning ticket. So if you have one Powerball ticket, you will call get winnings given another Powerball ticket, which should be the winning ticket, and it will compare itself to that one and tell you how much money it won. Because Powerball tickets should be able to do that. So I was talking with a tailor the other day, and I asked what she thought of her job, and she said it's so-so. Okay, so the Powerball ticket class here then. So we're going to use a loop and allow the player to continue playing or as long as they want. Keep track of total spent, total won, and net loss. Playing that each time. Okay, so if they want to buy, if they buy X random tickets, ask if they want all tickets to be shown or just winning tickets. So we're going to show them, hey, if you just buy one, we'll just show you, here's your ticket, here's the winning ticket, here's what you won or lost. Right? You either lost $2, you're out your $2, or you won some money here. Right? If they buy X random tickets, say it's like, I could buy 100 tickets, maybe I only want to see the ones that win money. So we'll ask them here to display only ones that win money if we want, or display all the tickets. So if they buy 10,000 tickets, we're going to spit out 10,000 tickets with how much they each won, along with the winning ticket. Okay? And we're just going to keep on doing this. They can play as long as they want, keeping track of their total spent, total won, net loss, and displaying that each time. Right? So if they buy one ticket, sure, they've lost $2 or they won a couple of bucks. If they buy 100 tickets, they've lost 200 plus whatever they won. Right? We're going to keep track of that here. All right, so let's add the rubric here. This is project 1. So for unit tests here, because you need to be able to pick a Powerball ticket number, right? We're going to use that method in the constructor that you pass it your numbers. Hey, I want this white number, 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 this red number. Use that for setting up our tests because we can control the ticket and we can control the winning ticket. And you can say, hey, did you win $4, win $4, win $7, win $7, win $100, $100, 50,000, million, or the grand prize. That'll get us our 100% code coverage because each of those prize numbers we need to compare different tickets. Okay, so this is complete, and oops, for 1 point, and this is missing for no points. Okay, so for each item on the rubric, you're going to do a self-assessment and tell me, did you get the points or not? Here's the Powerball ticket class. We'll have a constructor that generates a random ticket. Constructor that accepts the 5 white and 1 red number. Okay, the class has private attributes for all its values and public methods. So we've done this correctly. We have private attributes and public methods. For Powerball ticket class, the get winnings method accepts another instance of a Powerball ticket. And then the Powerball ticket class, get winnings, correctly calculates the winnings. Now this one is going to be worth a bunch more points. Well, actually, I'll give you the points for the unit tests here. So then we'll have unit tests. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different wins, right? And then 10 is the loss here. So let me do that here. We'll do custom points. Tests. No ways to win, and no winning at all. So we do that for 10 points there for your unit tests, right? We're up to 15 total. Cool. And then let's add another criteria here. This is the simulator tracks total spent, total won, total loss or net loss, displays every time for a point, and simulator allows the player to keep buying tickets until they're bored. How's that? So that's 17 points. Does that look correct? So you get most of your points here for writing your unit tests. That's what we're practicing here with our class. Okay? Oh, that's right. We had some other ones here. The simulator asks if they want to display all tickets or just winning tickets. Let's do... I think that's the last thing we had there, right? So we'll just do 3 points for that to make it an even 20. Because this takes a little bit of logic as well. So that's a little bit trickier than some of these other ones. Okay? Any questions on that? This overall score thing is junk again. As always. I wish I could just turn it off. Alright, so that 20-point assignment for Project 1, due in 2 weeks. Create your repository, create your project inside of it, and attach the URL to the feedback pull request along with the self-assessment. So let me know how many points you earned. Right? Take this rubric and show me, did you get a point for this, a point for this, a point for this? I do give partial points, so if you don't get it all done, right, hopefully you're asking for help early and often, but you know, whatever you do get done, you can get points towards. Okay? And I think that's all in here. Go ahead and save that. Did not get very many Project Zeros in as I thought. 20 out of the 28. It's a little low. So if you're having trouble with Project Zero, let me know. Right, I'm happy to help get that one in for you. For Project 1, talk with your learning partner. Right, you are welcome to discuss ideas. Right, but if you start taking notes like, oh, this is exactly what they're doing here, you've gone too far. Okay, but chat. Go to study group Thursday at 5 p.m. The study group, you can schedule individual tutoring sessions with our tutors. Yeah, this is an actual coding class here, Professor Burp. We are jumping in and writing code. Yes. Hey, Reed Wallen. Thanks for following. Walloon. Yeah, we'll have some fun with this one, okay? So, my general ask of you folks is that you try for at least 30 minutes to an hour if you're stuck on something, to try and get unstuck. Dog water, I'm sorry. So if you're stuck after 30 minutes to an hour and you're just banging your head against the wall, please reach out to me, right? Reach out to your study partner, reach out for tutoring. If you are working at something for more than an hour and not getting anywhere and just banging your head against the wall, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get upset, you're going to think Java is stupid, you're going to think I'm stupid, you're going to think you're stupid, and none of that is true, okay? Right, I will happily get you folks unstuck. I'm not going to write the code for you, but I'll get you unstuck, get you pointed in the right direction. Okay? So reach out. I've got my standing office hours Monday and Wednesday, 3 to 4:30, and then 10 to 11 at night. So hopefully I can catch you then. If that doesn't work, suggest a couple times to me, right, when you reach out. Tell me a couple times that do work for you, and I'll see if one of those will work for me. We can do an individual appointment as well off the standing hours, which is, it's easy because we're fully virtual anyway. Yeah, other than that, we should be in pretty good shape. I'll post a quiz for Chapter 6 shortly. I have to go, I'm just going to copy it from the last one, I'll be honest. and then I'll get that posted. You'll see that in D2L. You'll have until next week at 11:59 p.m. so that next week I'm going to remind you, hey, it's due in like 6 hours. Get it done in case you forgot. And then the week after that, we can go over the quiz if you have questions or concerns about it. Okay, other thoughts? If not, we've got a little bit of free time tonight to get started on that. Don't have too much more to go there. I guess I could show you one more example here, which might be helpful, because not everyone is very familiar with that, like that get winnings method. So let's do rock, paper, or scissors. Scissors? I can't spell scissors. S-I... Is that right? That doesn't look right. Scissors. S-C-I-S-S. Okay, there we go. Look at that. It fixed it for me. Scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. Skizzers. All right, so rock, paper, scissors then, right? We'll have a private string for their throw. Oh, we can't use throw. I don't know, choice. How about that? And we'll make a constructor. Rock, paper, or scissors. Given a string for the choice. We'll say this choice equals the choice you gave me. And then we'll say, I don't know, fight. Given another rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. I will call this one the other. Okay? This is a string result. So we can check to see what my value is and what their value is. So with rock, paper, scissors, if we're the same value, right? So if choice is equal to, and remember we don't want to use equals to for strings, it's dot equals, and probably ignore case as well. Dot equals, ignore case, the other dot choice. So because other is a rock, paper, scissors, I can get at their attribute, choice. Okay, so the other's choice, if my choice equals the other's choice, you can return tie. Okay, that's the easy one. Else if, or really, we don't need an else at that point. If my choice is rock and the other dot choice dot equals ignore case. So if I'm rock and they are equals scissors, I win. Or right, that's a little bit long. Let's see. I don't know. That's not too long there, right? So if I'm rocking their scissors, or if I am scissors and they are paper, or if I am paper and they are rock. If any one of those three things is true, right, we're going to OR all those together. Here's all my extra parentheses. There we go. There we go. Then we're going to return you win, right? Because our choice beat their choice. Whoa, that was the wrong key to press. Format. Okay, no, I have some curly brace. Why is there a curly brace there? Okay, so if I'm rocking their scissors, or I'm scissors and their paper, or let me back those up a little bit. I'm paper and they're rock, I win. If I didn't return any of those, right, I'm going to return, I must have lost because I didn't tie and I didn't win. You lose. Okay, I know this is not great. We should do some checking here. Do some sanity checking on choice. Again, we just don't care right now. I'm just trying to show you a quick example of how one method will accept another instance of that same class. So one rock, paper, scissors will accept another rock, paper, scissors for fighting. Okay, and then, hey, let's write some unit tests. Why not? So right-click, go to Navigate, go to Test. Make sure you're using JUnit 4 if you're doing a Java with Ant project. Say OK. Remove all that nonsense. And this is fight, I don't know, rock beats scissors. Okay, so we're going to arrange, we're going to act, and we'll assert. So we'll have a rock, paper, scissors. Mine equals a new rock, paper, scissors, given rock. And a rock, paper, scissors, given theirs, is a new rock, paper, scissors, given scissors. and then our result. So they'll have an expected result. So we'll have a string expected result is you win, and then we'll try it. So we'll have a string for actual result. Oops, semicolon there. Is mine.fight given theirs. Right? Mine is a rock, paper, scissors. Fight asks for another rock, paper, scissors. That's theirs. We'll fight. And then we can assert equals my expected result and the actual result. Let's try it. We'll test our file. Uh-oh. Build failed. Rock, paper, scissors isn't. Oh, missing a further brace. There we go. All right, now let's try it. Test our file. Uh-oh. Expected you win, but was you lose. So mine, rock versus scissors. Oh, I spelled scissors wrong. This is my problem with not doing that sanity checking. I'm sorry. All right, expected you win, but was you win lowercase. Oops, okay, so sure. Should that be you uppercase win or you lowercase win? I don't know. I like uppercase. You win, you lose. Why not? So again, we were close, but, off by a little bit. Let's try that again. See our tests. And then we passed. Right, so we would do this for all of the cases to get 100% code coverage. For our wins, our losses, and our ties. Now, technically, what's fun here is you don't need all three rock ties rock, paper ties paper, scissors ties paper, or paper ties paper, because any one of them matching runs this line of code. So that is 100% code coverage, right? Anything that's not a win is a loss. So you have 100% code coverage without trying all the different combinations, but it might be worth checking to make sure you didn't screw things up, right? To say we can enumerate all those possibilities. It's not always possible to say, here's the 50 different ways we could do something. In our cases, we only have 9, right? Three different ways of fighting 3 different ways. That's not too bad. But if we were in a more complex project, you're not going to do every single number 1 to 69 versus every other single number 1 to 69 for Powerball. Oh, and one other thing to note here with Powerball, I should have said this too. The numbers here come out of a bucket. So there are no repeats. You can't have 2 of the same white number. And what that also means is when you go to win, you don't have to match, my first number matches their first number, my second number matches their second number. It's your number matches any of their white numbers. So we're matching in combination, not permutation. Let me put that in, because that is important, right, on how we figure out whether or not we won. That is because they all come out of the same bucket here. And that'll be very important. Make sure you get your points there as well. Bigger here. Number, white numbers, can't repeat. And you match in combination, not permutation. So the order doesn't matter. Okay? That's an important note there. All right, any other questions, thoughts, concerns? We're pushing almost 8 o'clock now. It's right about the goal. We'll probably have, when we're not reviewing a chapter, we'll have more content to get us till between 8 and 9. But that's sort of the goal, 2 to 3 hours, hopefully never to 3 hours. Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely got to sit up a little bit better here. Hey, we're just finishing up. Facebook, I say open up. Is that you? FB, I say open up. All right. So if that's it, I will take the rest of the night, get started, or just take a break. Sometimes you just got to get away from it. I know 3 hours and 45 minutes of class is a lot in a row. So go from there. Again, talk to your study partner, go to the study group, book individual tutoring, talk to me. You got lots of options if you start getting stuck somewhere. Don't just bang your head against the wall. Because Java's not stupid, you're not stupid, and I'm not stupid. Okay? So don't get frustrated at any one of those 3 things. All right? And we'll go from there. Cool. Let's see who else is around. If I can get Twitch to load and we could raid somebody for fun. Let's see who's around. This always loads super slow. It's like this Twitch Inception does not like me. You know what? Let me go to a different screen here, and then this will work better. I think that we'll do stream ending. There we go. And I can maybe load this up without showing an OBS. Maybe we'll be happier. Not too many people around. Let's see if we can raid Rob here. Oh, what is his name? Lost it. There it is. RWX Rob. All right, yeah, we'll send a raid over to our buddy Rob here. He's awesome. He's a great coach, knows a lot of things, and we'll have some fun. Folks, take care. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you.